There is an insanely dark side to Dr. Phil's incredible success on TV. From losing a guest's only copy of an unpublished book to getting sued for sexual assault that resulted from his recommended treatment. It is no wonder that BuzzFeed at one time described him as Dr. Do Nothing. Despite holding a doctoral degree in clinical psychology, Dr. Phil is no longer licensed to practice psychology. So, today we look at some of these lives that he totally destroyed, and for fairness' sake, we'll throw in some names that he helped turn into incredible successes. Starting us off is Shelley Duvall, a renowned actress, famous for starring in The Shining and Popeye, and subsequently retiring from Hollywood in 2002. Miss Duvall has been a subject of discussion following her appearance on The Dr. Phil Show. Why? Well, for starters, Phil McGraw, alias Dr. Phil, does not have the perfect track record in handling mental health issues with guests.
If you cannot conduct yourself in an appropriate manner, then I'm going to invite you to leave.
Actually, many of his critics believe that his approach causes more harm than good. In Duvall's case, during the show, for example, Dr. Phil openly discussed her mental health struggles, seemingly oblivious of her vulnerability and the potential implications of the episode on her overall wellness. Quite surprisingly also, Dr. Phil has been denying seeing anything wrong with how he treated her.
Do you regret what you did there?
Oh, I don't regret what I did.
Despite the renowned actress getting humiliated and shamed during the entire interview. The episode, titled A Hollywood Star's Descent into Mental Illness, Saving the Shining's Shelley Duvall, did actually elicit a strong backlash, even being called appallingly cruel and shameful. The fact that Duvall was a Hollywood icon also amplified the outrage as celebrities, including Mia Farrow, came to her defense. Mia Farrow, a renowned actress and Frank Sinatra's wife, for instance, tweeted about the need for laws to protect people dealing with mental illnesses from TV talk show predators. So what exactly happened in that 45-minute 2016 interview? Besides not having given informed consent, the renowned actress said things that indicated she was in no state to appear in a TV interview. These included her belief that she had a whirring disc inside her,
I think there's a whirring disc inside me.
her belief of being threatened by the Sheriff of Nottingham,
Who threatened me is the Sheriff of Nottingham.
and the conviction that her Popeye co-star Robin Williams, who had died in 2014, was still alive as a shapeshifter.
Sad day.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, you don't think he's dead?
No.
It also turns out that she left the Malibu-based treatment facility, Creative Care Mental Treatment Center, just 3 days later, so she never really got the help she needed from Dr. Phil. And she suggested regret for having appeared on the show. How so? Well, regarding Dr. Phil, in 2021, she told The Hollywood Reporter, "I found out the kind of person he is the hard way." She then interestingly disclosed that Dr. Phil's team tried to contact her severally after the episode to squeeze more content out of her. Honestly, if it were not for The Hollywood Reporter's piece, the last documented public appearance of Duvall, thanks to Dr. Phil, would have been a major taint on her rather iconic image. Although Dr. Phil no longer airs, Phil McGraw is still grappling with the legal issues from when the TV show was still airing. Brianna Norwood is a prime example of the lawsuits filed against the TV therapist, Dr. Phil. Brianna Norwood accuses the talk show host and his crew of negligently losing her only copy of an unpublished memoir, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which allegedly disappeared while under the care of Dr. Phil's crew member, Justin Arluck. In an article published by The Blast, which also obtained the court documents for the case, Norwood sued Phil for the damage caused after the show's senior producer, Justin Arluck, lost the book, despite promising to protect it. In the lawsuit, Brianna Norwood details that she had to ship her manuscript to the show's producer in preparation for an episode. That was before 2020, and despite requesting for it on several occasions between 2020 and 2023, Justin Arluck supposedly held on to it. Again, that's really absurd, as she had not only shipped it to him for use in prepping a show, which is a display of good faith, but also had insisted that it was the only copy she had. Interesting. Hearing that it was the only copy, Justin indicated that he would protect the book and return it. Well, he didn't. And what's even more insane about this case is that despite trying to get the book back on several occasions, as I've previously stated, Justin responded that he not only wanted to keep it because it was a fantastic coverage of domestic violence, but also wanted others, including Dr. Phil, to read it. Oh, and it gets worse. Brianna Norwood said that she was manipulated to appear as a VIP on the show in 2020 under the impression that it would warrant the return of her book. Again, it wasn't. She kept asking, and it was not until February 2023 that Dr. Phil admitted it had been lost and was neither in his possession nor that of his crew members, Justin Arluck, McGraw Calvin, CBS Media Ventures Incorporated, and/or The Dr. Phil Show. Considering the Dr. Phil Show had wrapped up its TV appearances, Brianna Norwood was convinced that the only option she had was to file a lawsuit. Now, given it took 5 years for her to write it, you can definitely agree that the lawsuit was very much warranted. Looking at the case files, I found that Norwood sued for potential loss of sales, emotional distress and anxiety including PTSD, loss of potential interviews from other shows, and the time it would take her to rewrite the book, all under negligent breach of contract. The court hearing is set for March 1st, 2024. I truly hope she gets a win on each and every one of those counts. Now, if you thought losing a book was bad, how about losing a leg, being subjected to constant videotaping, and ending up worse off with the raw end of the deal? Well, that's exactly what happened to Laurie Bembenek, aka Bambi, an ex-officer of the Milwaukee Police Department turned murder convict. Bembenek had been charged with the murder of her then-husband's ex-wife, Christine. In 1982, she was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. She then maintained her innocence and even managed to escape from prison through the laundry room window, and thereafter negotiated a deal with the prosecutors, in which her conviction would be set aside, allowing her to serve the remainder of her sentence on parole. With glaring errors in the case against her, including her husband lying about his whereabouts on that fateful day, and alleged media and MPB malpractices, Bambi tried to clear her name, to no avail. That's how she ended up on Dr. Phil, after being promised the show would pay for the $20,000 DNA test that would finally absolve her of the 21-year-old murder case. In return, she would make an appearance on the Dr. Phil Show to broadcast the results, a deal her lawyer, Mary Woorer, expressed discomfort over. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Mary Woorer revealed her displeasure with the living arrangement Dr. Phil set up with her client, terming the arrangement disastrous. True to it, the ex-cop lost her leg in an attempt to escape from the PTSD horrors of being held hostage in the Marina Del Rey apartment. In a lawsuit she filed against the Dr. Phil Show in 2003, Bambi narrates her experience in the apartment in which the Dr. Phil crew was holding her as she awaited the results of the DNA test that she hoped would clear her from the murder. She claimed that the experience brought her flashes of her former incarceration, leading to her attempt to get away through the window by putting bedsheets together, an attempt that saw her fall terribly, eventually losing her foot to amputation. Come to think of it, being confined with no access to phone, radio, or TV while constantly being on camera with over 50 crew members is certainly horrifying. Although Bambi is no stranger to disturbing escapes, considering her successful escape from prison 8 years into her 20-year sentence, her stability and capacity for rational thought during the Dr. Phil hostage remains debatable. Phil McGraw and his crew denied holding her hostage, stating that she was free to leave the whole time. Her long-term attorney, Mary Woorer, termed the arrangement as an attack of claustrophobia. In her lawsuit, Bambi alleged that the broken leg meant she couldn't work or support herself anymore. She blamed Dr. Phil and his producers for ruining her life. Unfortunately, she passed on in 2010 due to liver failure without ever clearing her name as promised. In another attempted Dr. Phil intervention gone wrong, a Colorado teen, Hannah Archuleta, recently in 2021, sued Dr. Phil and CBS after allegedly getting sexually assaulted and mentally and verbally abused at Turnabout, a troubled youth correction facility in Utah. Apparently, after appearing on an October 2019 episode along with her parents, where they discussed her struggle with suicidal thoughts, Dr. Phil recommended the Utah-based facility, saying Hannah needs to go to the ranch to have any chance at a good life. He added that she would get a safe environment, eat well, be treated well, and have multiple therapies. The Dr. Phil crew insists that Phil McGraw was heavily invested in Miss Archuleta's case and that he was committed to helping her overcome the challenges she was undergoing in her teenage years. On the filming day, the TV show's crew allegedly arranged for a medical service to clear the teenager so she could fly straight to Utah after the show. The crew member volunteered to cover all of Miss Archuleta's expenses, including airfare, car rental, lodging, and meals. In her lawsuit, Hannah Archuleta highlights that she was groped a couple of times in the first few weeks of getting to the ranch. First, a male staff at the ranch grabbed her buttocks, and the second time when the same staffer aggressively squeezed her vagina and buttocks. After the second instance, Miss Archuleta reached out to her father, who went ahead and removed her from the ranch and then filed a complaint with the local sheriff. The ranch prides itself in being a Christian residential for troubled teenagers, although their moral standing remains questionable since there are claims that Dr. Phil withheld information on disturbing incidents at the ranch, including a 2016 murder of a camp counselor, orchestrated by a teen. In a statement addressed to the LA Times, a Dr. Phil crew member swore to vigorously contest the case, and, true to his word, the team absolved themselves of responsibility. Turnabout claimed that Hannah's father removed her from the facility before they concluded their inquiry into the allegations. However, what's worse and probably life-ruining is that not only was Hannah's suit dismissed by the court, but Dr. Phil and CBS countersued her for $400,000 in legal fees incurred in the case. She might have not only failed to get the help she needed, but also ended up owing a staggering $400,000. Now, it's pretty clear that Dr. Phil's show, which closed the curtains in 2023, left behind some shattered lives. However, could the good he did outweigh the bad? I'm talking about the lives that he may have helped or transformed in a way. For instance, being responsible, although somehow unintentionally, for gracing us with Bhad Bhabie, a true celebrity by any measure. How did he do it? Well, Danielle Bregoli first came to the public eye in September 2016 when she appeared on the Dr. Phil show alongside her mother, Barbara Ann Bregoli. At the time, Barbara Ann was ready to give up her 13-year-old daughter, who she claimed was out of control. Hence the title, "I Want to Give Up My Car-Stealing, Knife-Wielding, Twerking 13-year-old Daughter Who Tried to Frame Me for a Crime." Bhad Bhabie ended up going viral for challenging the entire studio audience to a fight for laughing at her. In her distinct accent, she blurted out, "Cash me outside, how about that?" A phrase that would become a meme, and later, one of her singles. Fans on social media turned Bhad Bhabie's catchphrase into GIFs and memes, using it in real-life situations, including DJ mixes and short videos, ultimately giving the teenager a life of her own across many social media platforms, including Instagram. Years later, Bhad Bhabie is still known as the Catch Me Outside girl. After her first appearance on the show, Bhad Bhabie was sent to rehab at the Turnabout camp in Utah, a move her mother appreciates Dr. Phil for. Bhad Bhabie reappeared on Dr. Phil after leaving rehab, with the pleasant surprise being when she found out she had gone viral with her phrase. And just in case you're wondering how she'd not known all along, well, she had no access to a phone or TV while at the Utah facility. Anyway, riding on the virality, she released her first single, These Hoes, which ended with her becoming the youngest female rapper to make the Billboard Hot 100. Essentially, Dr. Phil pivoted Bhad Bhabie to fame by giving her a platform. Now, given all that I've said, you'd have to agree that we can easily attribute her going viral and the subsequent coverage in mainstream media to her appearance on the TV show. Simply put, from an ungovernable teenager to a rapper, Bhad Bhabie's transition was thanks to Dr. Phil. Also, Danielle garnered various celebrity and brand endorsements following her viral moment on the show. The popularity she gained opened up opportunities for collaborations, brand endorsements, and partnerships in entertainment and even beyond the industry. The rapper has made good use of her social media presence, growing her Instagram account and social media brand tremendously, even deservedly earning herself the coveted influencer title. Also worth mentioning is that Dr. Phil's impact on Danielle Bregoli is complex. While her appearance on the show ushered her into the limelight and created opportunities for her growth, according to the argumentative Penguin on Medium, Danielle's rise to fame contributed to the glamorization of troubled behavior. Finishing us off is Ava Louise, another name that became a success thanks to Dr. Phil. She posted a video of herself licking an airplane toilet seat during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, while she had already been previously on Dr. Phil for being obsessed with Instagram fame, she landed a second interview for that airplane video. Cheekily asking Dr. Phil if he'd missed her, she went on to explain that she made the video because she was annoyed that coronavirus was getting more publicity than her. She had released a single and no one was talking about it, so she took matters into her own hands. The rather controversial upcoming musician says all manner of things, including her threat to pull up and cough on Dr. Phil. According to Vice, the Miami TikTok star claimed that she had bleached the toilet seat multiple times, besides it being her sugar daddy's private plane, which, according to her, minimizes the danger. In her own words, she had had dirtier things in her mouth. She went ahead to state, rather surprisingly, that she had interacted with tons of people during the spring break, making out and kissing them, yet she and everyone else were fine. In her view, her immunity was compromised from all the drugs and drinking, yet she didn't get infected with COVID-19. The aspiring musician went ahead to dismiss the implications of the highly contagious virus, claiming that there was not a lot of cases in Miami. Moments after debating the severity of the coronavirus disease with Dr. Phil, Louise accused the show's host's generation of being utterly selfish by blowing the pandemic out of proportion and spreading fear because they were the ones likely to die. She argues that COVID-19 was a result of clout, before stating that she understands the need for clout since she's a clout chaser herself. When Dr. Phil asked her if her fame would be worth it if someone succumbed to her stunts, as long as she gets the attention she wants, she unsurprisingly affirmed it. Well, the reckless stunt might have paid off, because her drama kept her in the limelight and could be argued to be responsible for her current fame. She did, for instance, get one of her songs, Skinny Legend Anthem, to be a trending sound on TikTok in 2021, gaining her about 70,000 followers in a day. Also, she got featured in a documentary, Anything for Fame, in 2023. Hopefully, it's all been worth it for her. Ava Louise's case is that of obsession with internet stardom, and hopefully, no one takes her seriously. To be influenced by someone who would rather die hot than stay ugly? One that would dismiss science in favor of her own clout. Do anything for fame? I'll leave you to be the judge of that. So what do you think? Did the lives destroyed by Dr. Phil get outweighed by those made by him? Let me know in the comment section below.